All right, so continuing on now in Mammoth here, we're up on the mountain still after a great weekend of riding. Continuing on with some of the products I brought up here. You know, I've been riding the new White Brothers Loop 29er fork, the 140 version, although this is reduced to 130, so it matched the travel in the FSR Project Long-Legged cross-country bike. I was looking forward to bringing it up here because I knew that the gravity-assisted trails up here would push the fork much further than I could on anything I have near me at home. And you know what? I've already been enjoying the fork. One of the things I appreciated about it most of all was that it balanced out the very, very supple FSR rear suspension on this bike. Even with the brain on here, it's a detuned brain, so it is not as aggressive as you'd see on like the Epic. So it's a very, very supple, even though it pedals well, still very supple. The FSR is known for that in my book. So I was always struggling getting the fork to match the suppleness of the rear end. This fork absolutely matches it, maybe even exceeds it. I've been running it about maybe 20%, sometimes 50% closed on the compression damping, and I find that the balance really nice. Sometimes I run it wide open if I'm just doing a really, really fast, really chattery downhill, but most of the time I have it somewhat closed to reduce dive, and it still is extremely supple. Now when you have the fork already locked down, it really isn't locked down, but the way that the magnet valve works on it, it feels somewhat closed up, and then when you hit a bump you get all the travel that you need at the time. It's not just reducing. You know, it's not like you put a heavier spring in there. It's almost like the brain works on the Specialized. And the end result of all that blabbering is basically it's an extremely balanced feel front to rear from this bike. And I'm really more about balanced than I am an absolute performance any one way or the other. I want the two ends of the bike to work in sync. In this fork they do. I never feel any problem with, I never felt it wasn't stiff enough or anything like that. I used all the travel. I had the zip tie at the top of the clamp. Oh, a lot, okay, and that's at 130. So at 140, would I still bound it out? I might have. These are some pretty big trails we're riding up here. What I don't like about it, well, not much. The QR system on it, the 15 QR, is a unique thing in that they have the tapered cones that tend to lock the fork leg to the axle and help prevent independent twisting. It's a good idea. In practice, though, since there's a free spinning nut that the axle threads into, what it makes it is it's not a one-handed operation where like a Fox QR you just thread it in with one hand, tighten it down and lock it over. Okay, same thing with like a Maxle, a 20mm axle or something like that. Well, not with this. If you push the axle in and you spin it, the nut spins too. So you got to hold the nut at the same time you're spinning, or hold the QR and spin the nut, which is maybe not quite easy to do with the little nut size. And a little bit of grit's gotten in there up here in this pumice, and I've noticed that turning the nut is a little bit hard. The other thing, when you do need to readjust or you need to loosen the quick release, what you have to do is flip the lever open and then basically smack the top of your tire with the palm of your hand. Just bap it, and that breaks the little bitty cones loose. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to get to turn it loose. Not a big deal. Pop it once and then it spins right out. So the only annoying thing is it makes it a two-handed operation, which means just be kind of fiddly, you know, when you're bent over your bike and trying to get that figured out. But other than that, the loop fork has been fabulous for me. It hasn't leaked. It's held its air pressure. Really, I am extremely happy with all the performance of it so far. It's done everything I wanted to do and more. So White Brothers, you guys did a great job with redoing your fork. 29inches.com out.
Got a little longer.